I have like 15 minutes to tell you what your work is going to look like in a few years. So I'm not going to spend a second speaking about myself, even though I'm Italian. It's true. I will be around to meet you and also online if you want. But I don't have the slides. Yes, so this is where you can find me. The only thing I want to say. I needed the slide. Okay, now, fasten your seatbelts because a few minutes to talk about it is going to be quite challenging. Let's start stepping a little bit backwards. Not that much. So, last century, we've been devoting ourselves into building organizations and institutions that were meant to be durable, stable, and predictable. That worked very much because now we're having a hard time to change them. And actually, that worked also because that was what it was needed in that century. But a few things are changing, and I will use this diagram from our friend Nils Fleging to talk about it. This is called the Taylor bathtub, and you can say why. So, on the right, you see where we are now. On the left, where we were before the last century. In the middle, something happened. Mass production took the complexity of the markets down to an historical minimum because all the dynamics of the markets were controlled by a few players in terms of information, in terms of monetary flows, in terms of power of influencing the market. So complexity was very low. It was quite easy to plan, forecast, foresee what your company could be in 10 or even 20 years. So that's why what we needed were very stable organizations that could reproduce an output given the same input. So it's a mechanistic system. Before that, the age of craft manufacturing, of human interaction, local markets had a very high complexity. And now, with the information technology that is empowering everybody to connect and talk and work with everybody else, the same is happening. Actually, I would have put that right line even higher than the left one. So in this situation, we have a problem. And the problem is that today a market looks like this. So each dot there is a player on the market. The lines are interactions. And this is quite exactly the definition of complexity. High level of interaction and players makes things completely unforeseeable. You don't know what's going to happen, and a small change in complexity will have a high difference in the outcome. So with this situation, the previous institutions just don't work anymore. They weren't bad, they're just not the right things to have today in most markets, unless you're sending people to Mars. I'm an aerospace engineer. So a few things happened while we were trying to use the same institution in this situation. I think you have heard of everything that happened on a social basis. So basically, as mankind, we have trying to tell the 1% that having them decide for the 99% is no longer effective. I mean, it's not either wrong or right. It just doesn't work anymore. There are much better things that can be done when the 99% of the people is involved into crafting direction. Well, not just bad things are happening in society and in organization. We've been hearing about engagement. Also, amazing things are happening. People, for the first time in human history, can self-organize to provide value in a way that centralized organization just cannot do. Think about earthquakes we had in Italy. Think about tsunamis. Think about the meltdown of a nuclear plant. People arrived, self-organizing themselves without a centralized organism or control. And they arrived even before the Red Cross. They arrived before any other organization. They made an amazing job. Same goes for what happened in Paris a few months ago. So, for the first time in human history, we have a problem that is raised in Africa, for example, is studied in the United States and solved in Asia in 3 weeks. This is amazing. Now, this also leaves us with the question of how will we be working in a few years from now? How our lives are going to look in a few years from now. And the ones that know this thing, who knows this curve? Please raise your hands. 1, come on. 2, thank you. So this is the hype cycle curve. It's published by Gartner every year. They position the upcoming innovation in their life cycle. Every innovation, even in our life, when you have a new relationship, goes through an hype. Then there is something that is called the throw of disillusionment. And then it goes, if it survives, into the plateau of productivity. It becomes mature. So when you look at what is coming here, you see on the top there are things that we know, like Internet of Things, wearables, autonomous vehicles. Everybody's talking about it, and that's why it's on hype. But on the left, you see what's coming. And you see quite strange things like affective computing, smart robots, human augmentation, brain-computer interface. Who's gonna take your children to school in a few years? A robot, probably. So that's raising question about our own identity as mankind. And this is the present. So how is gonna look the future? This is kind of new for us as mankind, isn't it? Well, no, it isn't. It isn't at all. We've been doing this all the time. This was just 1 century ago. So my grandfather didn't know that we could fly over oceans. It's something that is not human, right? It wasn't, now it is. So there is something here at play, which is the relationship between us and the tools that we create to extend our capabilities in the world. This is what we've been doing all the time. It's just getting faster. A guy that studied this that I love is Marshall McLuhan. How many here know about Marshall McLuhan? Okay, this talk was needed. Have a look. There is a very interesting book of his. It's called Understanding Media. He calls media not the communication media, but whatever extends our capabilities in the world, like the car or the airplane. Think about the car. After we invented the car, our whole system of cities changed and our lives changed around it. So it's intimate. It's something that we've been doing since when we leveraged the use of fire. When we work with human system, we use this diagram. Think about it as a river flowing. So the river is the human system, your team, your organization. It has at least 4 layers. On the surface, you have tools and processes. Then you get down to people. So the thing is that people have their desire in any time in history. They get together to obtain, to achieve things. And when they get together, they start setting up a culture immediately. A culture is what people do or don't do, not what they say on your surveys. That culture generates a system of competencies that produce the tools and processes needed to achieve what they want to achieve getting together. And on the other way around, these tools evolve the competencies, evolve the culture, and evolve the way people feel about their lives. Now, whenever we talk about the future of work, we focus on the top layer, which is the fastest to change, as you can see. It's just like in fluids. It's quite easy to go into a human system and change a tool or a process. The thing is that you need to change the whole thing. And if you want to understand what's coming in the future of work, you need to look at people, because it's where the new tools and processes are continuously generated. So what is going to come at the level of tools and processes in 10 or 20 years is already in how people are perceiving their job today. It's simply all about people, as we have been hearing. So that makes you an important part in this scenario, and let's see why. We've been working like this, co-creating like this for years all around the world, with my company, with other companies, and I found out actually 7 things that are coming out of people that will define how we live our job, our work in a few years. I've written an article, Huffington Post, with the 7, if you're interested. I will just tell you 3 of them now. So the first, complexity is reality. So we've woken up from this dream of life is mechanistic, you can plan it. How many people have children here? Okay, is life complex? It is. So the same goes for work. We don't want somebody from, I don't know what consulting company come into our company and say that we can plan and control everything, or that we should study science of complexity, because that's what we do. We've been doing it for millions of years. It's in our DNA. So we're starting to realize that we have the tools inside to serve the complexity of the work. Second thing, work is not a place, not anymore. Work is not where you go to work. Work is what you do, the way you create people, the way you interact with people. You can do that in many ways all around the world. Also, this is changing the way we work a lot. Third, work is life. There is no such thing as a work-life balance. When you spend 40 or 50 hours working every week, isn't that your life as much as other things in your life? So this is very important too, to enable people to bring all of their emotions or of their personality into the work, because that's an important part of our lives. When we look at the space of evolution of work with my company, we use this diagram, these three dimensions. So one is leanness, the way people collaborate, okay? Taking out waste from the way they create value for their stakeholders. The other one is openness. So it's the way they converse, how information flows through the organization, inside and outside. The third one is inclusiveness. It's how they co-create innovation, direction, whatever. Now, if you think about the 0, 0, 0 on these three axes, so zero leanness, zero openness, zero inclusiveness, you have a company of the 50s of the last century, which could also perform very well in the last century, but today probably not at all. You don't need to have 100%, 100%, 100%. You just need to understand where you stand now and how to evolve. But wherever you want to evolve, it's again all about people. I said one is the way people collaborate. The other one is the way people converse. And the other one is the way people co-create. People 3 times. All the rest follows in terms of tools, processes, competencies. There's a book that I love from John Seely Brown and John Hagel, The Power of Pull. So this scenario, what it leaves us with is this sentence really summarizing the entire book. Institution will be shaped to provide platforms to help individuals achieve their full potential. This is a change in how we perceive and live the tool that we call company. That's a tool that is no longer meant to obtain something because people can self-organize with that. It's a tool that is now meant to allow people to grow through conversation, co-creation, collaboration with other people. So the way we design it, the way we manage it, needs to change according to that. You cannot just buy talent anymore. You have to provide a playground for people to grow in your company. That's the most important thing. That's with the robots coming and all the things we've been hearing, that's exactly the only important way of thinking and organization in this century. And it has a lot of consequences, but I want to give you one because I have just 1 minute. Where does it leave you? Where does it leave HR? So we have this Copernican revolution. It's not the organization that is in the center and people need to adapt to its rules. Now it's the opposite. The organization needs to be adaptive with a dynamic design to allow people to work at their better and grow. So what is HR in this scenario? For sure, not a box in an org chart. That's for sure. For sure, not something meant to provide resources to the organization. Human resources. Not at all. Not any longer. So there is another important role in this moment, and you are the ones at the core of it, because the organization will take time to evolve. Our own culture will take time to evolve. I live in a company where there are no roles and titles, no bosses. We don't even do job interviews. And at the same time, people need somebody to tell them what to do. Why? Because our culture needs time to evolve. But you are in the core of this, and you can start doing things right now. The only thing you need is to think of yourself no longer as a part of the company improving the human resources, but a part of mankind that is central in what I call the human revolution. So you are not helping a company, you are helping us as mankind to reach our next stage. Besides all the artificial intelligence and bad robots coming at our jobs, we are in a moment when we are realizing our full potential. And you are the ones that can make this happen, because you really do that job already now, not in the future. So this is the message I want to leave you with, and thank you.